Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This week, we're going to have a conversation with Richard. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tony. Glad to be here. Hello, everyone from San Francisco on a Friday afternoon in May.
Very cool. I've been super pumped to having you on here and finally having this conversation with you. So with that said, let's open it up with a one-word open. I have this famous thing that I do in my podcast. Whoever I interview, we always kick it off with a one-word open. What's that going to be for you today, Richard?
I would say that one word is flow. This is not my first startup, but I feel like right now we're in a position where I am really expecting what's going to happen next, and nothing is ultra surprising to me. And I feel like, I have a good understanding about my day to day, goals that we need to hit. And I just would say flow. I'm feeling very much in flow right now.
Awesome. With that said, if you could take the next few minutes, tell us about a little bit about your background and a little bit about your business, from how you got started to where you are at today and where you are heading.
Yeah, I think it's important to start a little bit further back, and when I graduated college. So I graduated in the height of the Great Recession in 2009. And really coming of age during that time forced me to be an entrepreneur as a means of survival. And I remember graduating college and starting my own company or helping other people start their own companies, but none of them were that successful. And so someone took a chance on me back in 2014, and I just sold or trashed everything I owned, and I drove cross country with nothing but my car and my clothes. And so the last 8 years or so, I have been working at early stage B2B SaaS companies, really helping them grow and really helping them find their first customers and turn that into a repeatable business. And one of the things I've been seeing over the last 8 years is that early stage companies, they're really just trying to focus on revenue and new customers in a vacuum. And as a result of that, they are attracting not the best customers. And when you acquire a customer just for the logo, there's a chance that you could be acquiring a lower quality customer. And what that really means is that then that customer has a bigger opportunity to churn. Maybe they're a big headache for customer service. They're not a referenceable customer. Perhaps you're hiring too many people or not the right people because you're trying to take care of all these low quality customers. And so, I saw on the B2B side, the negative consequences of attracting and retaining the wrong customers. And what really excites me about Accurate is I believe we found a way to really operationalize a profitable growth strategy, because we help B2C companies attract and retain the best customers for their business for the long run by predicting lifetime value at the individual level. And so I started on the founding team with Toby Conitzer, who is our CEO. And Toby had built this database over the course of 5+ years, where he's been mapping every adult American's in-depth behaviors and attitudes. And this was used in the last election for political purposes. And so, when I met Toby initially, we were trying to figure out a way to leverage this database for lookalike audiences for commercial enterprises. But we realized that this solution just didn't work very well because of all the changes to privacy. And this solution was not the future of the internet. And so with one of our first customers, we found that, being able to match a brand's customer data with our database and add a layer of machine learning on top of it, we're able to produce 90% plus accurate predictions. And brands take action on this by helping them better segment campaigns and existing marketing stacks. So they're always trying to attract and retain the best customers for their business. And we see high LTV customers can sometimes generate 16 times the revenue of the average customer. And so that's a little bit about where I started and kind of the transition on why I'm so evangelical about what we're doing today.
Wow, that's incredible. And I was totally nodding my head the whole time when you first got into it. You were just saying how the differentiator between a customer, just like a logo, and versus a high value one, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's so true. Like with attrition, they're not a referenceable customer.
Yeah.
They're just not a fit. But it's so awesome. I can't wait to dive deeper into that as we start hitting our stride as well. Let's talk about the pandemic. Tell us how the pandemic impacted your organization, and then also how did you pivot out?
Yeah, so our business was incorporated around June of last year, so June of 2021. But we started really working on the idea in September 2020. And I remember, Toby and I, it took months for he and I to even meet in person because we're working remote. And then when we did meet in person, I remember we were like in a WeWork, and this is probably like, December of 2020, and we were in a WeWork, but we still had our masks on. We were sitting at opposite ends of like a really long table. And so I don't think our business has really had to pivot too much just from a business model standpoint. I actually think some of the changes in the pandemic really benefited our business, because if you think about it, the customer data that was created over the last 2 years during the pandemic is not really relevant, because in the next 2 years, that behavior will be very different as things open up. And so because we've been mapping every adult American with an always on database where we're really serving everyone in a very privacy first way, this is a benefit to our customers, because we say to them, hey, the last 2 years of your customer data is not relevant. So you need to bring in some kind of external data to better understand your customers outside of purchase data. So that's really the benefit of our solution. And so, how we're coming out of the pandemic, and, I mentioned how it benefits our business, but also what it means to our company and company culture is if you think about one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that now we could source candidates from really across the globe. And, prior to the pandemic, we wanted to hire a really stellar head of customer success or head of marketing. We would really only source within the Bay Area, because we would ask that person to come to work. But now we've been able to source from across the country, and we found some really, really stellar people who we've never looked at because they were based in places like, Indiana or, Southern California. So I think that's a great opportunity that we've had. And the second thing that we've had as we open things up is we're asking the people that we've hired remotely to come to San Francisco, about once a month to really just work creatively. And one thing I've seen is that working in person is just on another level in terms of deepening your relationship with people and also creative problem solving.
You're so right. And before we started recording, we're having a deep conversation about that, because I couldn't agree with you more, actually. And that's two things I agree with you, so much with, because that conversation comes up with a lot of CEOs I speak to. It's great. We all did the Zoom thing, virtual, remote, and some people can pull it off, some people can't, like we were saying, but there's nothing like face-to-face, that's so true. Great. With that said, can you share with us a meaningful win that you had in last quarter, something you're proud of that you want to share with us? Tell us what that was, so we can kind of get some insight into, what kind of success you had in Q1.
Yeah. I think it's hard to pinpoint one specific thing, but then kind of when I look at just Q1 in relation to like what we were able to accomplish over a 6-month period, like between like Q4 and Q1, is the ability to close like 6 customers in less than 6 months time period. And for a seed stage company like us to be able to close a $70,000 deal in around 30 days is just really good indicator that we have strong product market fit. And what's even better about some of the wins we had, and I think about specifically one consumer packaged goods company that we closed in January, so Q1 of this year, is with one cold email, we were able to get this CEO to reply, take a meeting with us, invite 3 of her lieutenants, and then in less than 30 days, we closed a $70,000 contract with them. And so to me, just a big win overall for us is knowing that we have very strong product market fit because of these early indicators we're seeing in our go-to-market traction, and just like, email conversions, getting people to close really quickly, and then also being able to sell our software at a premium without having to discount.
That's really cool. I know you got some people excited that are listening right now. Tell us more about that cold one if you don't want to, or if you don't want to give away too much, that's fine. But if you could give us like the workflow, how you did that, where that would be great. I think it would help out a lot of people listening.
Yeah, so you're just asking specifics on how we're getting wins with our cold email campaigns?
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our secret weapons is an outsourced lead gen company called leadgenerator.io. And what I like about them is they've helped us reduce the risk and cost of scaling our go-to-market efforts, because working with them is like two SDRs in one. And so what I'm doing is I'm writing all of the email campaigns, and they're just helping me scale it in a very personalized way. And what I think works about our emails is we start the email with like one or two sentences about our authentic affinity to the brand. And then we, call out the macro problem that we know that CEO or that executive cares about. And so for us, this macro problem is that it's getting harder to attract and retain the best customers with all the changes to privacy in iOS 14. And as CAC is going up, it's more important than ever to optimize the business on the most profitable customers. And so we basically like say that in the email. It's like, another attention grabber with talking about the problem in the words that the customer understands. And then what we also do is we show a visual of their customer funnel. Like, so for us, they have like acquisition at the very top, and then growth, churn, and then like win back. So think of it like a reverse bow tie. And so then we say to them like, hey, these are some examples about how to take action on predicted LTV at each one of these moments of the funnel, and we make it very specific to their brand. And so, it's like opening the email with personalization, talking about the problem, a visualization about our solution in a very clear way, and then we close. And I would say for our email campaigns, the most replies we get are from CEOs. And I think it's because of those exact reasons.
That's great. Seems like you've done you've done a deep dive to see like what's applicable, and you specifically call out, like you said, the actual pain point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're entering that conversation that's already in their head, essentially. And they're like, oh, this dude gets me. Let's see what he has to say and take a call. And next thing you know, if it's a good fit, you move forward with it. That's really inspirational.
Because if you think about it, an executive like that is getting sometimes like hundreds of emails a week, if not thousands, because there's over 8,000 marketing solutions out there. And so everyone is trying to target the same like VP of marketing at the top, like 2,000, e-commerce brands. So you really have to stand out. And I think the way you stand out is by being more human.
Nice. That's so well put. Let's talk about thought leadership. Tell me your point of view on that. Like, what does it take for someone to be an awesome thought leader, in your opinion?
To be honest, I really don't like the word thought leader. I just feel like it's so overused. And I feel like anyone who even calls themselves a thought leader, I can't quite take seriously, because it's almost like calling yourself an expert. And I can't remember like where I heard this quote, but I heard something about like the people who call themselves an expert are the least likely to be open-minded and have a growth mindset. And so I like to think of myself as being the most humble executive, where like I don't know anything, and so I'm always learning. But to your point about how to be a thought leader, I think it's providing an opinion based on your experience and showing authenticity. I think that's how I would describe being a thought leader.
Beautiful. What about company culture? I know you've worked hard to have, the culture that you currently have now, and it doesn't happen overnight. We all get it. We all understand that. But from your point of view, what does it take? Like, what's that top like thing, that one thing that a company must do in order to have a good like stride within their culture?
Yeah. So if I could take your prompt and summarize it in one word, it would be compassion. And there's a few ways I define compassion. So one is being curious without judgment. And the other way I would define it as trying to feel someone, trying to feel how someone else feels and then helping them feel better. And that's what I really think we strive for in our culture. And I could think of even myself as a manager, I try to come at things with curiosity. And so, if I see that someone does something wrong, my first reaction isn't like, oh my God, like, how dare you do that thing wrong? My first reaction is, oh, okay, you did this thing wrong. Help me understand why. And then it's like, okay, well, I understand the why behind that. So now I need to just train this person to be better. And so to me, this is like a great example of how I would define like having a compassionate culture.
Awesome, man. So now let's dive deeper into your company. So what problems is the company facing? What are they running into? What issues, like what are they swimming in that would make sense for them to reach out to you guys for help?
What are they swimming in? I think every marketer at a very basic level is just trying to attract and retain the best customers. And that's different for every brand. So maybe the best customers are people that go from a one-time purchase to a subscription, or maybe that means someone who buys multiple times, or maybe that means someone who refers a friend. But the problem is that when brands are only looking at their purchase data, they're not quite sure which of their prospective customers or existing customers are the right people to be reaching out to. And so customer data alone is not enough to predict future performance. And so that's like the general issue that people are facing. And, all these marketers are really trying to figure out a way to like find the right data or find the right platform. But I think the issue is that like all these different platforms expect you to adopt something new. And then a lot of marketers have mistrust in all this data. And so we believe we have solved these challenges because one, we're bringing in data outside of purchase behavior to better understand your customers at a deeper psychographic level. And then also we are validating the predictions to make sure they're 90% plus accurate. So then you have trust in this data. And then we make sure it's integrated into what they already do. So it's not trying to adopt yet another platform. And so we believe this just helps them just do their job easier and actually make them look better and exceed all the metrics that they care about.
Beautiful. Now that you got their interest, they're listening, they want to find out more, take this opportunity to give out your social handles and your company website address in case they want to find out more.
So our company website address is occurate.com, OCURATE.com. The only social media I'm on is LinkedIn, and you could find me fairly easily just by going to Richard F. Purcell if you're searching via LinkedIn. I'm pretty open, and one of my core beliefs is that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. So if people reach out to me with something really genuine, I'm always willing to spend some time to supporting others.
That's really cool. Here we are at the end, Richard. If you could sign us off with a one-word close, tell us what that is and tell us why you're choosing to sign off with this word.
I'll go back to the word I used to describe our culture, which is compassion. And I find that technology has made it harder to connect and understand each other. And it's more important that we take a moment to really be more curious without judgment.
Awesome, Richard. Thank you very much for this awesome conversation. Looking forward to having you back on here soon.
Great. Thanks, Tony.